You know, the Alamo is a big deal here in Texas, here in San Antonio especially. Well, what would you do if I told you there was a dinosaur at the Battle of the Alamo? What would you say if I told you that? If you would say I'm making it up, you would be correct. In this episode, we're going to talk about Alamosaurus, an amazing dinosaur. Let's go.
Welcome to Dinosaur George Kids, a show for anyone who loves dinosaurs. Dinosaur George has studied paleontology for over 50 years and has performed live to over 4 million students across the world. So sit back and enjoy today's show. Now, here's Dinosaur George.
Hey there, future paleontologists. I'm Dinosaur George, and welcome to the show. I hope everybody's doing well. You like this spy music? I think this is called Spy Lounge. Kinda funky. I like it. Hope everybody's doing well. Hope most of you are probably back in school now in other parts of the world. You've been in school for a while, but I know here in San Antonio, I want to say that I think school starts this next week, which is pretty crazy. I mean, it's not crazy that school's starting again. It just feels like it was just yesterday. It feels like just yesterday everybody got out for the summer. So anyway, boy, have I got a lot to cover today and some really fun and exciting news. First of all, this podcast has been downloaded 1,286,000 times, and this is episode number 112. First of all, if you live in or around San Antonio, on September the 1st, the year's 2024, on September the 1st, I'm doing 2 special talks out at the San Antonio Zoo. Now, there's no fee for this, but you have to sign up online to be able to participate in them because we don't know what to expect as far as turnout. If it's a huge turnout, then we have to be able to control because only so many people can fit in the building. So this takes place on September the 1st, 2024. I'm doing 2 talks, one at 12 o'clock and another at 2 o'clock. Now, the same talk, I'm just repeating it. So here's what we're doing. There is a bird out there at the San Antonio Zoo. I'll never forget the day I saw it. I saw this bird and I glanced down at its foot and I just stood there with my mouth open going, that thing's got a raptor killing claw on its foot. I mean, it's a killing claw. And I thought, why did I just find this out? It's a bird called a Seriama. Well, what we're going to do is I'm going to do a talk, and during that talk, I'm going to talk about dromaeosaurs. That's the raptor dinosaurs. Then I'm going to talk about the terror birds, and then we are all going to go out as a group and go look at this bird to look at that foot. It's such an amazing thing to think that there is a bird, a living bird, and I'll bet you wherever you're from, you probably have one of these birds in your zoo. When I mentioned it to the folks at the zoo, they were very excited about it, and they never stopped and really thought about it because, of course, they have thousands of animals in the zoo. You can't look at every feature of every single animal, but I'm telling you, this thing is crazy. So anyway, these 2 shows are free with your paid admission into the zoo, but you absolutely have to go and sign up. Now, where you can do that is on the Dinosaur George Kids Facebook group page. We have notice about it. You can click on it, and it'll take you to this place where you can sign up to be there. Let me make sure that I'm saying that correctly. I just clicked on this thing real quick, and where is it? For the details, where's the link? There it is. Okay. Yep. So there's a link there when you click on it, and it will allow you to sign up. But you absolutely have to sign up to be able to do one of these 2 shows. So anyway, that's just something that's going to be so much fun. And if you are in or around the San Antonio, Texas area during that time, please make it a point to come out and join us. Now, for the exciting news. How would you like to be on my podcast? How would you like to join me on my podcast? Well, On September 27th and 28th, out at the Skylight Balloon Fest in Selma, Texas, that's right outside of San Antonio, I am going to be doing a live broadcast of this podcast. And I'm going to allow you to come up, have a seat, and ask me any question you want about dinosaurs. Now, I have to say this. If a huge amount of people turn out, then I have to limit everybody to only ask one question. You get to ask one question. You can ask who would win, or you can ask me any question about paleontology that you want to ask. So if there's a lot of people, I won't get the opportunity to talk to you for a long time. But if we don't have a big turnout, then I'll be able to ask you questions and we can talk back and forth. But if you would like to hear yourself on the podcast, here's your opportunity. Now, we will post information about this on the Dinosaur George Kids Facebook page coming up soon. We'll post all the details. But it is the 8th annual RE/MAX. RE/MAX are the people that sell homes. Their Skylight Balloon Fest. Now, I got to tell you something. I was there last year. It is such a cool event because they have these giant hot air balloons. And they've got all kinds of neat stuff, and there's booths and vendors and food and drinks, and it's so much fun. But this year, they're letting me go out and set up a small exhibit, and I'm going to set up my podcast and do a live recording. Now, the recording is going to be at 2 o'clock on Saturday. I don't know for sure what time on Friday. I'm waiting to get that final information, but I absolutely know that on Saturday, September 28th, at 2 o'clock, there at the Balloon Fest. If you want to be on the podcast, you get to come on. I would suggest that if you're going to get to come, you take a piece of paper and you write down your question or maybe a couple of your questions. Because what happens sometimes is when people have come, they sit down and they forget what they wanted to ask because there's so much going on. So just write it down on a piece of paper. Write down a couple of questions in case there's not a lot of people. It just might be you and me. So anyway, if you would like to be on the podcast, come out and you'll enjoy it. Now, there is an admission, but if you look up RE/MAX Skylight Balloon Fest, you can find it online. You can get all the details and see all the fun things that are going on. But I hope that you will come out and join me. I think it would be a lot of fun to interview you. You do not have to be a club member. You don't have to be a club member. If you are a club member, make absolutely sure you let us know. Excuse me. Make sure you let us know because club members go to the front of the line. So if you are a club member, the Patreon club member, we make sure if there's big, long lines of people, we'll walk along and ask if anyone is a club member. We'll check the register to make sure that they are who they say they are, and then we'll bring you to the front of the line. And we may even make a separate line for club members because club members get priority because they pay for being a club member. So anyway, that's what we'll do is we'll have 2 lines, one for the general public, one for club members. And if you'd like to be on the podcast, there's going to be your opportunity. You'll be able to be heard by people all over the world. And so anyway, it'll be fun. I'll record it. I'll record everyone's questions, and then I'll put them in upcoming podcasts, and you'll hear everybody's questions as I add more podcasts. All right, so that's pretty exciting news. It's going to be a lot of fun. I haven't done this in a very long time. I actually have a portable podcast system, and I've just been so busy, but I'm going to do it. So if you want to be on the podcast, I think you would enjoy it. Let's talk about our feature creature.
It's time for our Feature Creature segment. If you would like to suggest a creature, go to the Dinosaur George Kids Podcast page at dinosaurgeorge.com or post your suggestion on the Dinosaur George Kids Facebook group page. Now, here is your Feature Creature.
All right. This is a dinosaur that a lot of people are confused about because its name is Alamosaurus. And at the top of this podcast, I told you it was at the Battle of the Alamo. I totally made that up. That's not true. The Texans didn't have an Alamosaurus. They didn't have a sauropod helping them out with a fight. How cool would that be, though? Use the tail like a catapult and launch rocks at the enemy. So Alamosaurus. Now, the genus name is Alamosaurus. The species name is Sanjuanensis. Sanjuanensis. San Juan County is in New Mexico. That's where this dinosaur was found. And its name means Ojo Alamo lizard. So Alamosaurus wasn't named after the Alamo. In fact, when it was discovered, nobody even knew it even lived in Texas. It was first found in New Mexico. Now, every layer of rock, dirt, paleontologists give them names. We have to name we call it a formation. So around the world, they go in and they test the ages of different layers of dirt, and then they'll give that layer a name. Now, it doesn't. The layer isn't the same thickness everywhere you go. That's not the way it works. Some layers can be really, really thin. Some layers can be like really, really wide and deep. So the layer there is called the Ojo Alamo Formation. That's the name of it. The Ojo Alamo Formation. That's the name they gave to the layer of dirt where that dinosaur was found. And therefore, they did it in honor of the formation. So it's found in San Juan County, New Mexico, in a formation called the Ojo Alamo Formation. So the name means Ojo Alamo lizard. That's what it means. Has nothing to do with the Battle of the Alamo. I was teasing you. It's an herbivore. It's a sauropod. So sauropods are the long-necked dinosaurs. It's an herbivore. It's a quadruped, walking on four legs pretty much all the time. I don't think it was possible to even stand up on its hind legs. I don't think it could do it. It was a quadruped. It's a late Cretaceous sauropod, and in North America, that's a pretty rare thing. Don't find them. It's a pretty rare thing. It lived between 70 to 66 million years ago. It's been found in, of course, New Mexico, in Utah, Wyoming, and then ultimately found in Texas. But again, people hear the name Alamosaurus and they say, is that the state dinosaur of Texas? It's not. It's not. It's not. Because, like I said, it has nothing to do with the Battle of the Alamo at all. It has absolutely nothing to do with that. And so that just happens to be the name. It's big. Now, it's fragmentary. And what that means is scientists didn't find a lot of it. And that's normal with a lot of dinosaurs. You got to remember, when you watch movies like Jurassic Park and Jurassic World, if they ever show those scenes where they're digging up dinosaurs and you see them remove all the dirt and you see the whole skeleton all perfectly together, that just doesn't happen very often. That's a very, very rare thing for two reasons. One, when an animal dies, it's going to attract meat eaters. It's going to attract scavengers. It's going to attract meat eaters from the smell of the decaying animal. That attracts meat eaters. So right away, you've got all sized meat eaters coming in and eating what they can. We know from the fossil record that meat eaters don't like other meat eaters. So if you are a young Tyrannosaurus Rex and you smell the smell of an animal that's died, you want to get there quick. But you want to be very careful about who else might be there when you get there. You want to make sure there's not a bigger carnivore because, listen, you're going to be lunch for a bigger carnivore, or it's going to kill you. Maybe it's not going to eat you, but it's going to stop you from eating the food that it's there. So you've got to be very careful. That means when you get there and you're a little dude, you want to look around and think, do I want to stay here and eat, or do I want to get a to-go plate, take a piece and get out of here? That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to rip off an arm. I'm going to rip off a leg. I'm going to rip off a chunk. And then I'm going to get away from this thing so I can eat in peace. You have little carnivores coming in, like little raptors. They're eating as much as they can, and they're going to carry away stuff with them as well. So what happens a lot of times is the body is ripped apart and broken apart. That's pretty common. But then the next part of the equation is, to become a fossil, you've got to be buried in sediment. You have to be buried in something. Well, how are things buried? Well, it's through erosion. Erosion is where the wind or water can move dirt and rock from one place to another. So, if there's a flood, flooding is the best way to become a fossil. We should be very thankful for past floods, because flooding brings muddy water that could wash over the animal and begin to bury it. And after it's buried, that's when the process of becoming a fossil begins. If the dinosaur dies and is laying on the surface, its bones are going to bake hard in the sunlight. They're going to become brittle. They're going to break apart, and they're going to turn to dust. There'll be nothing left. But if that animal is buried, then that means there's a good chance it can become a fossil. So first of all, you have carnivores that are ripping apart the body and taking pieces away, and then you have a flood. Well, the flood usually causes that animal to tumble downstream until it gets lodged somewhere and the mud and the water begins to bury it. Well, that also can break apart the skeleton. So it's very, very rare that you find the whole skeleton laying there. Looks great on television. That's not the truth. That's very rare for that to happen. So with Alamosaurus, they didn't find a lot of the bones. But what they did find allowed them to recognize what group of dinosaurs this came from, and therefore they could estimate the size. Now, the estimate of size is always, if you're missing pieces, you have to calculate how big those missing pieces were and how many pieces were missing. And once you do that, then you can estimate the size. For instance, let's say this. Let's say that we find a new kind of ceratopsian, okay? It looks a lot like Triceratops, but there's a lot of pieces missing. Well, we have found enough Triceratops skeletons to know how many bones are in it, right? We know how many ribs, we know how many backbones, how many tailbones, we know all that stuff. Okay, so we find this animal that looks a lot like Triceratops, but it's not Triceratops. So, how do I estimate how big it is? Well, since we know it's a cousin of Triceratops and we know the bones that we found look a lot like Triceratops, then it is a good educated guess, a hypothesis to figure out if Triceratops has 10 bones in its tail, then I bet this dinosaur had 10 bones in its tail. So even though I don't find the tail, I can calculate how long the tail was. Well, I can do that with all the body parts. And once you're done, you can give a legitimate estimate. But what happens is you get disagreements among scientists, right? Remember in previous podcasts, I told you there is nothing wrong with disagreeing with somebody in science, unless it is something that you can't fight with science fact. For instance, gravity. Gravity exists. Gravity is what holds us down. We would drift off into the atmosphere if there wasn't gravity on planet Earth. Gravity exists. I can't see it, but it can be measured. So no scientist should come up and say, I don't believe gravity exists. That's not a good scientific argument because we have all the details necessary to prove that gravity exists. But when it comes to dinosaur sizes and lengths, you have to do a lot of things. For instance, if you find a dinosaur skeleton, the first thing you have to figure out is this an adult? Is this a teenager? Is this a baby? That's step number one. Because think about this. If I were digging up bones and none of us had ever seen an elephant, we've never seen an elephant, and I'm digging up and I find the skeleton of a baby elephant, I could look at it and say, ha, I name this animal elephant. And I say it's 4 feet long. Well, that's not accurate, is it? Because I happen to find a baby. Yeah, this one is 4 feet long, but how big were the adults? Well, the same thing with Alamosaurus. Not all the parts of Alamosaurus that were found turned out to be from an adult. So first thing you have to do is you have to say, okay, if this is a juvenile, how big was the juvenile? Pieces are missing. I have to estimate that. Then I have to size it up to how big I think it got. So the estimates of sizes are going to be different. And the reason why I told you all of that is because sometimes you might go and look at a book and I may tell you it's 30 meters long. And then you look at a book and it says it's 22 meters long. And you go, how could that be? Well, it's because different people have estimated the different size. Here's the extreme. This is as big as they think it could get. It was 11 meters tall. That's about 37 feet tall. It could look over your house, probably. It's 30 meters long. That's 98 feet. Man, we're talking about one of the biggest animals that ever walked planet Earth. It probably weighed up to 80 tons. What's 80 tons? If you took 14 full-grown hippopotamus. That's how much this dinosaur weighed, as much as 14 hippopotamus. I'll tell you a cool fact, well, an idea. How big would the heart be of a dinosaur that big? How big would its heart be? You know how big it is? I bet you and I could stand inside of its heart. I know all my young listeners, all of you could stand inside of the heart. Think about your own heart. You know your heart's about the size of your fist. That's how big your heart is, about the size of your fist. When you make a fist, that's how big your heart is. That's how you can estimate the size of your heart. Well, think about this. Think if there was a little human standing inside of your fist. You'd be so tiny compared to me. Well, that's how tiny we would be compared to it. This animal is so gigantic, I suspect you could stand up inside of its heart. It was discovered in 1921 and described in 1922. Just a reminder. No, I'm not going to remind you. I'm going to ask you. What does it mean when I say it was described? If your mom or dad are with you, or your guardian, your grandma, or your friend, I want you to tell them what I mean when I say it was described. If you don't know, go back and listen to some of my other podcasts, because I want you all to remember these things. I want you to remember these terms, because for those of you that decide you want to be a paleontologist, these terms are important to you, okay? So it was described in 1922. Now, I told you that fragmentary evidence was found, so that makes it difficult to know for sure the size. But based on what was found and based on the estimates of size, this is the largest dinosaur that ever lived in North America. Now, all sauropods in North America died out about 105 million years ago. Brachiosaurus, Diplodocus, Apatosaurus, Camarasaurus, Dicryosaurus, who else? Barosaurus. In North America, pretty much at the end of the Cretaceous, at the end of the Jurassic, sauropods were gone from North America, but they were living down in South America. They were surviving down there for some reason. Well, Alamosaurus, we believe, migrated from South America back up to North America between 30 to 40 million years later. So for 30 and 40 million years, there were no sauropods in North America until this behemoth arrives. This monster shows up. This dinosaur is so big, it's a titanosaur. So its cousins are dinosaurs like Argentinosaurus. This dinosaur is estimated to be the same size as Argentinosaurus. It may have been one of the largest dinosaurs on Earth. Now, when I say it migrated, I don't want you to think one day it just got up and started walking and arrived. There's generation after generation, millions of years of those South American sauropods growing to gigantic sizes, and over millions of years, they're slowly moving. At least Alamosaurus was slowly moving up towards migrating to North America. So big animals usually travel, because if not, they'll eat themselves out of existence. So Alamosaurus, its early ancestors, started off in South America, and then 30 to 40 million years after sauropods were gone, this behemoth arrives. Dinosaurs like Tyrannosaurus Rex, when they saw the first Alamosaurus, I would love to know what was going on in their noggin. What were they thinking? Here it was, the king of the dinosaurs. Everything feared me. I'm the king of the dinosaurs. Everyone fears me. Except this thing showed up. And then you're like, wah, wah, wah. I'm staying away from that thing. I don't think tyrannosaurs mess with this animal. It's too big. It's simply too big. And they don't know what to think about it. Tyrannosaurus Rex had never seen a sauropod. None of the tyrannosaurs in North America saw sauropods because they were gone when the tyrannosaurs took over. Maybe some of the earliest ones. But Alamosaurus is simply gigantic. It is the only titanosaur known in North America. And again, it migrated in the late Cretaceous. Now, something about this dinosaur, they found the remains of fossils of this dinosaur at the line that ended the Cretaceous period, When the asteroid struck the Earth, it left a thin layer of a very rare mineral called iridium. That layer is the last days of the dinosaurs. That layer, there's no bones found above it. But Alamosaurus bones were found very close to it, which means Alamosaurus, along with Ankylosaurus and Tyrannosaurus rex and Dromaeosaurus and who else? Edmontosaurus, all of the Triceratops, they were among the last dinosaurs to survive. Alamosaurus would have seen the asteroid coming in before it struck the Earth. I'd say maybe Alamosaurus would have been the first ones to see it, and they would have been the last ones to see it. They had a higher vantage point. No skull has ever been found of this dinosaur, but they did find some teeth that are sort of shaped like a pencil. If you've ever seen the tooth of a diplodocus, they have sort of pencil-shaped teeth. They found some of those teeth in the same formation where they found Alamosaurus bones. So it's a pretty good scientific guess, a pretty good hypothesis that those were the teeth of Alamosaurus. Again, these are the kind of things that paleontologists and you, as you grow up, will have to do, is you'll have to make educated guesses. The greatest thing about paleontology is we don't have all the answers. We need you. We need you to become a paleontologist and help us find the answers that are missing today. People of my generation have learned so much by younger generations that have come in and found things and new technology to help. When I was a child, yesterday, now you know I don't have a girlfriend. When I was a child, what we thought we knew about dinosaurs was based on what was found and the technology available. But today, it's a world of difference now compared to today's knowledge because younger generations came along and helped us. And you know what's really helped paleontology? It's that paleontology now is open to everyone, regardless of if you're a male or a female, regardless of any of those things. And that helps the science a lot because by having more people involved, we get more opinions. And by getting more opinions, we can look at things from different perspectives. So the guessing that we have to do has to be based in science. And so we found those teeth. I say we, not me. I say we so much. I want you to remember, when I say we, I'm incorporating the work of thousands of people that I've never met. And I don't want to take away I don't want to make it sound like I'm out there doing some of this research. I just don't have time to list all the people that do. But so when I say we, I'm talking about the people who study dinosaurs, okay? I'm not a doctor of paleontology, and so I never want to take anything away from those individuals who are on the front lines doing this study, okay? So we found the teeth. And because those teeth are similar to the teeth of Diplodocus and similar to the teeth of Argentinosaurus, then it's a good bet that they would have belonged to Alamosaurus. This is a cool story. In 1999, in Big Bend National Park, that's in Texas, a graduate student from the University of Texas in Dallas found a bunch of big bones sticking out of the side of a hill. Now, he was way back in the back areas where it's hard to get to. And it turned out that it was a pelvic bone, 10 articulated neck vertebra, and they turned out to be from an adult Alamosaurus. Great. More pieces were found. Helps us understand the size better, right? Especially when you find a bunch of vertebrae like that and part of the hip bones, the pelvic bone. But here's the problem. The bones were so big and they were so heavy that scientists couldn't figure out how to get them out of there. See, most of the time, like when I go dinosaur hunting, we take a four-wheeler as close as we can get, and then you just have to walk because in some places you simply cannot drive a truck down into. So when you find a bone, you don't take the bone out of the ground. Instead, you remove the ground away from the bone, but you leave it where it is. Then you cover that with a protective layer of things like burlap or paper or anything you can. And then you put plaster all over the top and sides of it. It's so that it holds it all together in place. But what that means is that's heavy, right? The bones are heavy enough, and then you're putting plaster on top of it. You're adding rock to rock. It's heavy. So I've been to sites before where bones had to be taken out of the ground by taking 2 long boards and like putting them on top when they cover them with plaster, and they add the plaster to the boards to like stick the boards in. Then they pick the whole thing up with those boards and they carry it on their shoulders, and people have to take turns switching because it weighs so much, and you walk out of those sites till you finally get to your car. Well, that wasn't possible with these bones of Alamosaurus because it's such a big dinosaur. So you know how they got him out? Helicopter! Yes, they flew in a helicopter that lowered a net and connected it to these things. They rolled them into the net. The helicopter lifted off, flew it over to wherever the truck was, and loaded them onto the truck to be taken back to the museum to be cleaned and studied. So they used a helicopter. That's pretty cool. That's actually pretty cool. I happen to think that's really a neat thing. So when you're looking at dinosaurs, especially when you're looking at those that are fragmented, meaning we don't find all the bones, scientists are then left with having to figure out what they're going to do to understand these things. All right. Our next Patreon Club lesson is on Allosaurids and Megalosaurids. That's going to take place on Saturday, the 17th of August, 2024. If you would like to join in on that, you have to become a T-Rex or Raptor Club member. We do 2 lessons each month. One for all members, which includes the Triceratops Club. That's $1 a month. The Raptor Club is $5 a month, and the T-Rex Club is $10 a month. Raptor and T-Rex members get 2 lessons each month. So this lesson taking place on the 17th is only for the Raptor and T-Rex members. But if you would like to become a club member, go to my website, dinosaurgeorge.com, and find the Patreon Club link. And please become a club member if you would like, and you can join us in for that lesson. Or if you don't want to spend money, money isn't free. I meet so many kids, I get so many emails from kids who are upset because their parents won't give them a membership. Let me tell you guys something. I'm going to make this podcast free for as long as possible, so you don't have to spend money to be a part of what we do. We also have the Dinosaur George Kids Facebook group. Now that group is free as well. That's a group where you can post pictures, you can pose questions, you can do that as well. So you have to understand that your parents are constantly needing to pay for things that as a kid you don't think about, right? You get a new pair of shoes, that's cool. But you don't stop and think, how much money did my parents just spend to get me new shoes? And if you're a young listener and you're growing, you're constantly growing out of your clothes. I got to buy you new clothes. And then they maybe take you to soccer practice or to baseball. They feed you. All of those things add up to a lot. So when you hear me say it's only $5 a month or only $10 a month, that doesn't mean that's free. It's just another expense. So for those of you that can't be club members, listen, you don't have to be. You get to do stuff like this all the time, and it's totally free. And for all of you parents out there, I want you all to know that for those of you that do sign your kids up, I really appreciate it. But I hope that I make it easier for your young people to understand that you don't get to do every single thing you want to do. And for you parents, I appreciate you letting your kids listen to this podcast. And so, speaking of the Dinosaur George Kids page, let's go over to that page, and I'd like to take the rest of this podcast to go through it and mention some of the things that I see. So let's get started. First of all, 10-year-old Giovanni drew some pictures, this is good art. This is really, really good art. Some amazing looking stuff. I'm guessing, because I don't see the label on this particular picture, but it looks to be 2 theropods that are attacking a sauropod. Now, I see 3 claws, so I'm going to guess that these are Alamosaurus that are hunting a sauropod. It's a beautiful drawing, whatever it is. Also drew a really good Kentrosaurus. Man, I like that Kentrosaurus. This is all pencil art. This is really good. Drew an Ouranosaurus. You know, I need to do a podcast on Ouranosaurus. That sail on its back. It's an herbivore. I mean, it's an herbivore. It's a duck-billed dinosaur who has a sail on its back, just sort of like the sail of Spinosaurus. In fact, it lived in the same place. There's got to be a function to that. This is Concavinator. Now, okay, just 1 minute, kid. You drew a picture of somebody standing in front of that Concavinator. That better not be me, kid. You better not have drawn a picture of me being attacked by a Concavinator. That better not be me. That's all I got to say. I love that. And you know what? I love the colors that you used. That's very good, Giovanni. Nicely done, my friend. That's very, very good. Okay, let's see. There is an ad for my museum and gift shop. For those of you that ever visit San Antonio, or if you live in San Antonio, out at Traders Village, I have a museum and a gift shop. And we sell really cool stuff, real fossils, science kits, rocks, minerals, crystals, and really lots and lots of toys, animal toys, not just dinosaurs, but, giraffes, elephants, horses, unicorns. We sell a lot. You know, we really sell a lot of dragons. We sell a lot of dragon stuff out there. Anyway, there's an ad for it on our page, and you can click on it to see how to get out there. This is from my little friend Ashley Raptor. I love Ashley Raptor. Ashley Raptor lives over in Australia, and we just did our lesson yesterday, the first of our 2 lessons, and she had to go somewhere for a competition, netball competition. And so I saw her and her mom at home, and then I saw her walking outside carrying a laptop. So she participated on her laptop as her mom drove. Unless Ashley Raptor crawled up in the front and drove, and her mom was in the back seat asleep. That's probably what happened. I would suspect that's what happened. Because Ashley Raptor looks like the kind of kid that would just get in a car and drive off. So I hope your mom isn't listening to this, Ashley Raptor. She's going to really be mad at me. All right. Love you too. Great. That's such a good picture. I'm giving you the little thumbs up, by the way. Or I'm giving you a heart. Okay. Let's see. Maxosaurus Rex wanted to share that he got his Velociraptor claw when he became a club member, and it fits perfectly on his DK Dinosaur book. That is a cool coincidence. That's cool. By the way, thank you for becoming a member. If you become a Raptor Club member, we send you a replica Raptor claw. And if you become a T-Rex member, we send you a Raptor claw and a replica T-Rex tooth. But this looks really good. They took that claw and he put it on his book, and it's almost it looks like a perfect match. So that is so cool. I'm so glad that you thought about doing that. That's really neat. Thank you for posting that, Mom or Dad. I appreciate you so much taking the time to post that. I love that very much. Let's see. Okay, hey, DG, I signed up my son for the T-Rex Club. His birthday is on 8/13. What do I need to do so he gets a shout out and the T-Rex teeth? I didn't see a spot for either info. Okay, Miss Franklin, when you signed up, first of all, you needed to make sure to give us your mailing address, because we get a notice when we get a new member, and about once a month we send out all the gifts. So depending on when you signed up, his gift probably has not gone out yet, or depending on which club. If he's a T-Rex member, then he gets he gets the Raptor Claw and the tooth. Those will go out. Now, as for signing him up for his birthday shout out, go to your Patreon page. Go down to the page, because we post so much stuff. You got to go down a little ways, but you will see where it says August birthday shout outs, and it gives you instructions. You put your comment in that post, just give the information that we asked for, and then we compile all those, and I do the birthday shout outs. I will probably do the August shout outs in another week or two, They usually come towards the end of the month. And the reason for that, Ariel, is we want to give time for people who are going to give the membership as a birthday gift in the month of their birthday. Like, for instance, the way you did with your son. If I had done it at the beginning of the month, he would have to wait 2 months to hear a shout out. So towards the end of the month of August, I'll do the shout outs. Go on, go down, go look through there, and find the one that says August birthday shout outs and put his information. You may have done that since you posted this, because you posted this 3 days ago. But anyway, that's what you do, okay? And thank you for being a club member, and thank you so much. And I'll make sure he gets his gift shipped out to him. Here's another reason why it takes time to get the gifts sent out is I autograph every single picture. I do. I absolutely do. And so I have to be home to do that. So I'll get a stack of those cards and I'll autograph each one before we send it out. So that also is one of the reasons why it takes us a little while to send out the welcome gifts. But I promise you they're coming, okay? All right. Oh, this is from 9-year-old Ethan. Absolutely love Ethan. Wanted to share this picture of Chasmosaurus rushing towards a Daspletosaurus. I like this. I didn't know, Ethan, you were an artist. Listen, you're a very good artist, buddy. That's very, very good. Now, I will tell you this about Ethan, who everybody calls Fire Tablet. That just, I don't know how that became his name, but me and all my crew recognize Ethan as Fire Tablet. Ethan asked the hardest who would wins. They're always so hard. It's like, oh my gosh, kid, can't you give me an easy one? Like Chasmosaurus versus Daspletosaurus? But no, you got to give me one that nobody's ever heard of in the history of life on Earth. Love your questions, Ethan. And this is a very, very good drawing. I like this a lot. I didn't know you were an artist, Ethan. That's really good. Okay. This is the Stewart family. Their 4-year-old drew a T-Rex with her and me. Oh, how cool is that? She's lucky she's cute. Yeah, no kidding. This is so cool. This is so, to the Stewart family and to your 4-year-old, thank you. I love those drawings. Those are really, really nice. I appreciate that you gave me hair. That's very kind of you. Thank you for doing that. I have to make sure to send you $1 million. I love it. Okay, now there's a post about the, remember I told you about the talk that I'm doing out at the San Antonio Zoo? That's on the Dinosaur George Kids Facebook group. And a reminder, it's not the Dinosaur George page. You can join that one too. But that page we use more to promote the traveling museum and where we're going to be. But it's the Dinosaur George Kids page where you get to post these pictures and these comments, okay? All right, let's see. Hi, Dinosaur George. Leosaurus Rex, new Patreon club member, woohoo, would like to request Sarcosuchus for a podcast topic. We're loving the podcast very much. He's very excited to get his Patreon gift, which is coming today. Ooh, nice. Also, is there any way he can write requests for a podcast on the Patreon page? I wasn't able to find an area. Okay, that's a good question. First of all, I see your question, and that's a good one. That's a good recommendation. Let's see. There we go. One of, it looks like Lexi, Alexis is our director of all social media, and looks like she responded to your question where she said that we periodically post a thing. So she'll be posting that soon. Okay? And thank you so much for becoming a member. I really appreciate that so much. And I hope he enjoyed his gifts. All right, Titano Ren has been watching a lot of Olympics and was wondering which dinosaur would be the best at gymnastics. She doesn't think it's T-Rex because he couldn't do a good cartwheel. I agree. Okay, if we're going to find a gymnastic dinosaur, it's going to be raptors. And now, the true word is dromaeosaurs, but Velociraptor, Deinonychus, Dromaeosaurus, those guys. So, they're more agile. They would not be able to do the uneven bars because their arms don't work like that. But maybe Utah Raptor could do the discus throw. Or what if we take Ankylosaurus and we put the discus on his tail and he flings it? Okay, so Ankylosaurus would be good for the discus. The long jump, we're going to bring in Struthiomimus for the long jump. Legs are longer. The 100-yard dash, Velociraptor or Dromaeosaurus. What else do we have? Synchronized swimming. We got to go with Spinosaurus. Well, it would be better to go with ichthyosaurs, but we're talking about dinosaurs, right? The javelin. Who could throw the javelin? Oh, I know. We'll take Stegosaurus and just unscrew one of the spikes on his tail so it's loose. So when it flicks the tail, the spike flies. There's your javelin. What else? The relay. Well, we can't do Tyrannosaurus Rex for the relay because his arms are so short, he couldn't hand the baton to another one. So who's going to do Therizino? No, Therizinosaurus can't do he can't do it because he can't hold the baton in its claws. Who's going to do it? Who do you guys think ought to be the relay? For those of you that like a challenge or a project, I'd like for you to draw Dinosaur Olympic participants. List what the dinosaur is and what it's doing. If you don't know what all the different things are, then you can go look up the Olympics and find out. So, Titano Ren, you came up with a really, really great question. I would say that the hardest thing for any dinosaur Olympics is how you're going to get them to stand there to get their medals. Like, they're big. It's going to be really crowded. All right, that's a great question. But I agree with you. I don't think T-Rex is very good. Plus, he would eat the judges. Or it would eat the judges. Okay, let's keep going. Endocarson and D-Declinodon, like Dimetrodon, would like to know if dinosaurs hiccuped. I think they did. I believe that dinosaurs would a hiccup, I believe, is caused by a reaction that's associated sometimes with food. I don't know for sure, but I would suspect, you know what? I had, my dog one time had hiccups. I had a cat that had hiccups. So yeah, I think they probably did. It's a great question. All right. Oh, here's a cool picture. This is really cool. When I was in, what was the town I was in? I was in Liberty, Texas. And oh my gosh, I can't remember your name. Adi, there it is, Adi. Adi and his dad and I think his grandparents stopped in to my traveling museum, and there's a picture of he and I together. This kid knows a lot about dinosaurs. I thought about just putting him on the payroll right then and there and letting him do that. They just happened to be in Houston. They were from Iowa, and they happened to be in Houston, and I was right outside of Houston, and Dad was nice enough to drive him there. It was nice meeting all of you guys. I enjoyed it so much. Okay, what do I have here? I've got a short video. Let me hear what this video is. Hang on.
Hey, Dinosaur George, this is me, June. This is my baby Stu. My name's Stu. Velociraptor right here.
Oh, that's nice.
Stegosaurus, a pterodactyl.
Nice.
A Parasaurolophus,
nice.
And another Velociraptor.
Nice.
Velociraptor right here.
That is really, really cool. That is really, really cool. That is so cool. Let me see who. June did that for me. Well, thank you very much, and I love those pictures, and you did a great job, buddy, and thank you very much for taking time. Mom or Dad, thank you for filming that. I appreciate that very, very much. That was great. Okay, I was at the Hondo Public Library. I was at the Hondo Public Library, and one of our little visitors, I stuck a saber-toothed cat over her head, and then Rhodey was there with his puppet, his Parasaurolophus puppet, and as I was putting that over her head, that puppet flew in to attack her. So it was, that was just great. Okay, let's see. My son, Madden, and let's see. And Tommy immerse themselves in dinosaurs all afternoon with the pictures. Oh, wow. Listen, this is beautiful. I think that is a plesiosaur or a pliosaur. No, it's a plesiosaur. And there is a beautiful ammonite. Listen, guys, these are great pictures. This is a great picture. Is that Alamosaurus? That's a beautiful drawing. That's really, really good. That's great work, you guys. Thank you so much. I appreciate that very much. Rhodey, my good friend, who also does a traveling talk. Rhodey posted a bunch of pictures from the library. It was so much fun, and it was great seeing everybody. And then, let's see, Leosaurus Rex drew Triceratops versus Torosaurus. I like this, man. Triceratops wins because his horns are bigger. That's a good way to look at that battle. That's a great way to look at that battle. I love that a lot. Thank you very much, Leosaurus Rex. Love that very, very much. That's so cool. All right, let's see. What else have we got? This is so funny. This is from the Nova family. There's just a comment that she made. My 3-year-old is obsessed with listening to Dinosaur George. Today I turned on an episode and within 10 seconds she said, "Hey, we listened to that one yesterday." She has a true passion for your shows, and I imagine you'll become a Patreon member. Well, that's very nice of you. To the Nova family, thank you so very much for letting your 3-year-old listen. I think that's great. And sweetie, I'm so glad you listen to the podcast. So here's a little special shout out to you for doing that. That's so neat. Okay, what have we got here? This is, let me rewind this a second and see what we have here. This is Indominus Dean shared his dinosaur Lego world, complete with battling apex predators and a dinosaur handler training facility. Let's see what you did here.
Go.
So here we have a Lego Spinosaurus, and it's attacking a jeep. As you can see, there's a boulder near its foot, around like here, and its tail over here has sort of a spiky design.
Nice.
Anyway, let's move on to this jeep.
Right?
The jeep has a secret flap under here with this tranquilizer dot.
Nice. You're going to need it.
The Jurassic World logo on the front, on both sides, and here. It is meanwhile also being attacked by this hybrid.
Ooh.
It seems to have this Giganotosaurus torso and T-Rex head. Whoa.
Nice. That was really, really cool. And Indominus Dean, I love that. You did a great job, and that was a good video. Nicely done, my friend. Nicely done. All right. And this is so cool. This picture is just great. Okay. So, you know what? Hang on a second. Warrenosaurus found this recently exposed fossil along the Guadalupe River in Kerrville, Texas. We're looking for an ID or tips on how we can try to find an ID for it. Thanks, if anyone can help. Okay, here's what I believe you guys have. I believe what you have is coral, because the limestone from that area represents a time when that part of the state was under the ocean. And the picture you sent me, I'm looking at it right now again. I am almost certain you are looking at pieces of coral. There's all different sizes and shapes in there. And I know it can be tricky because sometimes they might look like bones. And I'll be honest with you, these certainly do appear to be like the shapes of bones. But as I zoom in on them, I think these are pieces and parts of coral. That's what I believe it is. If I'm wrong, then what it would be is it would be some sort of sea animal, like a mosasaur, if that's what it is. But that, to me, I believe, are pieces of coral. That's my best guess, but I really like that a lot. That's really cool. All right, let's see. Townsosaurus drew a concavenator. Been long time Dino DG fan. I appreciate you very much, and I love that. Yeah, on my podcast about concavenator, I asked for people to draw that. I like that a lot. I like that. I like where you put the hump on the tail. I like that. It's just a beautiful drawing. That's a really, really good drawing. So nice. And then here's a picture of Eloise, Miles, and little Junie, little Grandma June. I love that picture. That's so cool. Those kids are great. Okay, so my friends, if you would like to leave your comments on something like that, if you're ever interested in doing that, you are certainly welcome to anytime that you want. And just go to Facebook and search for the Dinosaur George Kids Facebook group. Remember, September 27th and 28th, 2024, at the Skylight Balloon Festival in Selma, Texas, you can come on and be on a podcast with me. We'll record your voice. Now, for parents, we won't record the image of your child at all. We won't even put them on YouTube. For those of you that like to watch this podcast that you just heard is going to be on YouTube. But I would never put a picture of your child on YouTube or anything else. So just to let you know, I'll ask them their name and where they're from. But that's the only information that we'll ask. I might ask them their age, their name, and where they're from, and then they get to ask me their question. But parents, understand that if you want to bring your kids out, it's an absolutely totally safe thing, and their image and information would not be shared with anybody. It'll simply be their first name, how old they are, and maybe the state that they're from. Very vague, okay? So if you would like to be on my podcast, come out. I know it's 2 o'clock on Saturday. I don't know what time on Friday yet, but I'll cover that. Go to Remax Skylight Balloon Fest and get all the details and come out and see me. Come out and see me at the San Antonio Zoo. I'm also speaking August 17th and 18th at 11 o'clock at the San Antonio Zoo, just doing a general show on dinosaurs. So come out and see me then. For everybody out there, be good, be kind, be nice to people. The world is a better place with nice people, and you, I know, are some of the nicest people. Take care, everybody. I'll see you soon.
Thank you for listening to Dinosaur George Kids. Join the Dinosaur George Kids Facebook group, become a member of our Patreon club, and check out our website store for cool fossils, rocks, and crystals. Visit dinosaurgeorge.com for details. Until next time, keep digging for knowledge.